Good evening. We're just going to make some quick announcement about access to interpretation channels for Spanish. We are really happy to be offering simultaneous Spanish, English, English, Spanish interpretation this evening. It's really easy. Once we turn on the setting in your toolbar, you will be able to click on the three dots where it says more, or where the globe shows up, and you can choose your language of preference. IT and presenters, please remember to choose English so that you can hear questions interpreted back. Everybody, please remember to go at a reasonable pace. Buenas noches, nos complace mucho poder ofrecer un servicio de interpretación simultánea al español y del español al inglés para esta sesión. En un momento, cuando prendamos la configuración, en su barra de herramientas o va a aparecer un globo terráqueo o ahí donde dice More con los tres puntitos, pueden seleccionar por favor su idioma de preferencia. Vamos a dejar estas instrucciones en el chat. Gracias.
Thank you so much. I appreciated, Naomi, your introduction to the interpretation, because we always are accessible to our community. So welcome aboard to Know Your Rights webinar series, a new spring season for all of you. Community care, safe and informed, the Advocates Toolkit. In today's session, we're going to talk about mastering community preparedness through tools and local supports. So a disclaimer that we always do is that this presentation is for informational purposes only and does not include legal advice. For specific legal concerns or questions, please consult with a qualified attorney or legal professional to ensure compliance with current laws and regulations. The City of Albuquerque and its partners are not responsible for any action taken based on the information in this presentation. So, about housekeeping, be respectful and kind. Feel free to type your questions in the Q&A box in English or Spanish. As housekeeping, the questions will be answered at the end of the webinar. We also gonna, if you need Spanish interpretation, just go to the channel. And with no further ado, I want to introduce our mayor, Tim Keller, because is proud Albuquerque native dedicated to building a safer, more inclusive, and forward-looking city. Since taking office, he has focused on tackling homelessness, expanding economic opportunity, and investing in public safety and sustainability. Known for his hand-on leadership and commitment to equity, Mayor Keller always supports the immigrant-friendly policies and works to ensure that every community in Albuquerque feels valued and represented. His vision centers on creating a city where innovation, culture, and community thrive together. With no further ado, let's go and introduce the video that Mayor Keller sent to all of you.
Hello, I'm Mayor Tim Keller. Welcome to the Know Your Rights webinar series. This series is very important, especially in the national context of what's happening throughout our country and in many cities. And we know that here in Albuquerque, we want to make sure that you have all the knowledge and all the power possible to know your rights and to help defend our city and our families. So this is a collection of information and expertise of lawyers, businesses, folks in our own city's Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs who are going to walk you through all the information that you need to know to be safe. These information services are also available online, and they're available in English and Spanish. And we thank you for caring about our community.
Thank you so much, Mayor Keller. And now I want to introduce you a little bit of the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. We are a welcoming city, a stronger community, because we're an immigrant-friendly city. Then our mission is clear: to improve the lives and facilitate the successful interaction of all immigrants and resettled refugees living in our vibrant city. We envision an Albuquerque where people of all backgrounds have what they need to thrive, contributing to a more inclusive, prosperous, and a safe community for everyone. And now I want to introduce you to APB Commander Sean Wallace, who is going to provide information about tips for safe protesting. Commander Sean Wallace is a dedicated and seasoned law enforcement professional Sean brings over 2 decades of invaluable experience to the public safety and security sector, with a career marked by leadership roles across law enforcement, security operations, emergency management, and education. He definitely has done a lot of work towards this purpose. So let's go and give a welcome to Commander Sean Wallace.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. Are you going to bring up the presentation, Beatrice?
Yes, just a second.
Okay.
Here you go.
Well, thank you, everybody, for having me. I'm super excited to be able to come spend a little bit of time with you guys. A little bit about me. I've been in law enforcement for over 20 years, and right now, under my purview, I have emergency management and our special services division, which has open space forces, air support, tactical medics, emergency response team, Office of Emergency Management, and I think that's about it. Oh, and the Homeland Security. Obviously, with all of that being said, the biggest thing that we focus on in our area is crime prevention, and we're going to talk a little bit about specifically protest and how you guys can protest safely. Because the biggest thing we want to do is want to make sure that we're providing a safe and secure environment for folks out there that are exercising their First Amendment rights. So as you see here, protecting rights, preventing injury, and supporting community safety. So obviously we have a shared purpose. Hey, how are you? When we're talking about protests and exercising your First Amendment rights, the biggest thing we want to make sure we do is provide an area where you can protest peacefully and assemble lawfully, right? The biggest thing we want to do is make sure that we're taking care of each other, right? My role is to make sure that we protect life, safety, and also protect the lives or the rights of those involved that are exercising their constitutional rights. We do that by focusing on behavior and safety, never the viewpoint. We get multiple protests throughout the year, and we don't focus on our personal views or what is being protested. We just make sure that we provide sight and sound for those individuals. Because at the end of the day, my goal is to make sure that you all come out and protest safely and lawful, and then you go home at night. Because that's really the biggest thing is making sure that you get your opportunity to be seen and heard. Next slide. So as we do that, if you're talking about, hey, what do I do to protest? I want to go join a protest. One of the things that we always encourage people to do is make sure you know what you're going to. Do a little homework on it. Look at the route. Look where you're going, where the meeting points are. If you're going to have a protest and you're in charge of the protest, make sure you assign people to help keep each other safe. You know, we call them marshals, but really what those folks do is they help bring people together and keep them in a safe environment. You know, one of the things that we changed about 5 years ago, actually longer than that, probably closer to 8, is we really try to make sure that we form a bubble around our protests with our traffic folks and PSAs. They do a really good job of trying to make sure that you all have the ability to take the street, march up and down, and be seen and heard. Because that's really what it's about, is you getting out there and being able to communicate your message, right? And when you're planning ahead for these things, make sure you share where you're going and you communicate a communication plan with your family members and friends. That way, if you don't show up, then people know where to start looking for you. You know, one of the things that we see, especially as weather is going to start warming up, is the weather, right? Even if it's cold outside, you can get dehydrated pretty quickly. So we always encourage people to bring water, make sure they have weather gear for whatever climate it is, whether it's cold weather gear, whether it's a rain jacket for the rain. And then you have the ability to charge your phone and back up batteries, even medicine as required. One of the things we have seen is we have seen on occasion uh, medical situations where people get dehydrated or low insulin. But we always have people on site to make sure that we can provide medical assistance as needed. One of the things we also encourage people to do is stay safe in the crowds. Avoid bottlenecking in intersections. Make sure that you're leaving lanes for emergency access. Our officers that are creating the bubble around the protest they do their best to do that, but just make sure that you're cognizant of what those officers are trying to do. If they're asking you to move to the side, or the big thing is just trying to keep emergency access in case something happens. The next one's a big thing in which we try to do a good job of keeping counter protests away from each other. We understand that each side has the opportunity to voice their concerns and protest whatever it is that they're wanting to talk about. But we ask that folks stay away from each other, stay with their groups, and try to make sure that if things do get heated, that you do your best to try to de-escalate the situation. Because what we don't want is we don't want a clash between different uh, sides of the protests. One of the ways that we can do that is creating distance, and then if you have to, report those to law enforcement. If you're feeling unsafe or you're feeling threatened by a counter protest, then report those to law enforcement. But because the big thing is we want to make sure that we have that communication open and freely. Another thing that we ask for folks to look for is following the direction of law enforcement and public safety officers. Be cognizant of announcements that may be made by law enforcement. This is a big one that we also look at is anytime there's a planned protest, we always try to make contact with the organizers of the protest to be able to have that face-to-face interaction and to create that opportunity to have a liaison between the group and law enforcement so we can make sure that we're doing whatever it is you guys plan on doing. If you plan on marching, we want to make sure that we have that so we can provide that bubble for you whenever you march. If you plan on staying stationary, we want to make sure that we understand that as well so we can look out for those counter protesters and be cognizant of potential hazards of people trying to come in interfere with your protest. Ultimately, at the end of the day, though, what it's about is communication, and we're here to help, like I said in the beginning, provide that safe and secure environment for you to have sight and sound to exercise your First Amendment rights. One of the things that we hate to do, we saw this in 2020, is a dispersal order. If we end up having lawlessness and crime, uh, major property damage, or individuals being attacked, then we may have to give a dispersal order and actually break up the incident, because at that time it's no longer a uh, lawful protest. Now it becomes civil unrest, and we have to do things to break up the group itself. If you remember back in 2020, we had it, and it wasn't the peaceful protesters. It was a group of criminals that actually entered and encountered a group of car club downtown, and it turned into a spontaneous situation that led to severe property damage. And at that time, we had to give dispersal orders, but I don't remember the last time we actually did a dispersal order for a peaceful protest. I don't know that we ever have, at least since I've been on the department. Um, and then after the event, after you're done with the event, make sure you confirm that people from your group are accounted for and safe. Sometimes we get these where folks call saying that somebody from their group is missing, and we start helping look for them. Usually it ends up they just got to ride with somebody else. But make sure you have those communication plans like we talked about, where you're able to provide that accountability. This goes back to having the marshals, folks that help get everybody together, and move them in a orderly fashion when we're talking about uh, getting everybody together. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we really want to provide a safe and secure environment for you to exercise your First Amendment rights. Because realistically, our officers are part of the community. We have the same concerns that you do. We hear you and we see you, and we want to be able to provide that opportunity for you to exercise those rights.
Thank you so much, Commander Wallace, for your presentation. We really appreciate it. And we hope that you stay for the part of the questions and answers later on. Appreciate it. So now we're gonna welcome Larry Cronin. He is from the National Lawyers Guild. He's a practicing attorney for over 25 years. He has extensive experience as an advocate for civil rights and the rights of children and youth, and also has served as a legal observer and policy liaison for the National Lawyers Guild. Please welcome Mr. Larry Cronin.
And thank you for inviting me for this. And I appreciate Commander Wallace's presentation. In my presentations to organizations that want to participate or organize a protest, he touched on several points that I touch on. But we find that the organizations that organize a protest don't always agree with the law enforcement about what's legal, what's allowed, what's not. And one thing that the National Lawyers Guild does protect or provide is police liaison work so that we can work with the police, if that organization wants that, to negotiate some of the terms of what goes on during the protest. What we also provide is the Legal Observer Program. Now, the National Lawyers Guild has been around since 1937 and has been advocating for people's First Amendment rights, right to protest, protecting and advocating and defending in court people who've been arrested at protests, from helping the creation of the AFL and the CIO, unions throughout history during the war, conscientious objectors. During the 60s, a lot of protests, Vietnam veterans against the war, during the civil rights movements, advocating and working with the civil rights movement, the Black Panthers, and various others throughout the years. And what the Legal Observer Program is, and right now, a lot of you see in the news the term legal observer being bandied around. Our program of legal observers works under the supervision of attorneys, and the purpose is to, as Commander Wallace said, their purpose is to keep peace. Our purpose is to keep an eye on the police to make sure that the protesters are protected, to get information during the protest. If any of you have been at a protest and you've seen people with bright green hats on, those are legal observers. They're people who've been trained by lawyers, and their job is to be watching the actions of law enforcement, not the actions of the crowd, to observe, record incidents of law enforcement activities. How many are there? What are they doing? Are they allowing people free movement? what kind of use of force, if anything? Are they intimidating? And this varies with different agencies of what's going on. We have ICE, who most people are aware of, are violating people's constitutional rights all the time, to state police, to the university police, to APD, to the sheriff's department. I've interacted with almost all of those. And so the legal observers are not part of the protest. They're there as observers, and to collect information regarding how the police are acting and their effect and their control of the crowd. They're not there to be the police liaison. They're not there to tell the protesters what to do or what their rights are. Although if they're an attorney, they can do that. They're there to document in case of legal action after a protest or an assembly. They're there to collect information, record it, what the law enforcement is doing, and that information is maybe used later on in the defense of somebody who's been arrested for what law enforcement says are illegal actions, or in civil lawsuits against law enforcement and the city, regarding what we consider illegal actions by law enforcement. Sometimes as a police liaison, I have had the opportunity to work with a lot of, especially APD, and try to negotiate some of these issues out. But what the legal observer does is purely collecting information to be used and to protect the people and their First Amendment rights to protest, to assemble, and make sure that law enforcement is acting within the context of the law too. And we're available if some organizers are want our help in having legal observers at an action. This is the way to contact us and request legal observers. And we appreciate it. And what I've also found, that having legal observers there also de-escalates a situation, especially with law enforcement, because they know that they're being observed, just like anybody else who might know they're being observed. They might not take certain actions that they would otherwise. And so we appreciate people being on the street, asserting their rights, and we're there to help them do that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cronin, for your presentation.
And again, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So now we want to welcome Markela Clinton from the Mayor's Office. She's a field representative at the Office of Civic Engagement. In her role, she works directly with residents, neighborhood associations, and city departments to promote inclusive participation in local government and ensure city initiatives reflect community priorities, and much more. So please welcome Markela.
Thank you, Beatrice. I really appreciate that warm welcome. So good evening, everyone. My name is Markela Clinton, and I work for the Mayor's Office as a field representative. And this evening, I'll be discussing fighting misinformation and building community. So we're going to be discussing these 8 points, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. You can go to the next slide. So what is misinformation? The definition: false or misleading information shared online in conversations or media. Examples specific to immigration: rumors about raids, false crime data, or stereotypes. Facts versus rumors. A fact is a statement that can be verified, true, using reliable resources and evidence. And the objective is not based on personal feelings or interpretation. Evidence-based, so it's supported by numbers, dates, testimony, or observations. Used to pursue, so provide credibility and make arguments more compelling and believable. Rumors, on the other hand, are unconfirmed information that has not been verified or proven, speculative, may or may not have a basis in truth, and spread informally, often emerge from during times of crisis or uncertainty as people try to make sense of events. So we want to be very careful. Rumors are more likely to happen when there's already discourse, when there already is a lack of trust going around in the community. It's way more likely for rumors to get more stimulation and more fuel. So common signs of false information. So sensational or emotional headlines. So when there's a lot of use of the word they, this objective, obscure they concept. Lack of resources or anonymous claims, viral social media posts without context, repeated stereotypes or sweeping generalizations. So there will be nothing concrete. It'll be something vague like they're all out to get you, or they're organizing to turn us against each other, without naming a specific group. And then the same concept will repeat it over and over. They're taking our jobs. They're taking our income. And then common immigration rumors in Albuquerque in particular. The city gives special benefits to immigrants. Undocumented immigrants cause most crime. ICE is raiding every school/neighborhood. These are common rumors, especially here in Albuquerque. The city's efforts to combat misinformation. Now, trusted messaging through official channels, 311, newsletters, social media, partnerships with nonprofits, schools, and advocacy groups, translations and community liaisons for language access, a lot like this event here where we have language access provided to the community through our Spanish interpretation, public safety data dashboards for transparency, and then tools for residents. The city gives special benefits to immigrants. Clarify that actual policy. If someone says that to you out in community, ask them, like, where did you hear that? Like, what department is upholding that? If you hear something like undocumented immigrants cause the most crime, fact check them. Ask them to show you the crime data. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or any other field rep for specific crime data. And then ICE is raiding every school/neighborhood. Clarify how enforcement actually works. I'm sure anyone from APD, myself, or someone from the city has no problem clarifying exactly how enforcement works throughout the city. And then how you can help stop misinformation. Pause before sharing social media. There's nothing wrong with doing a quick Google search, looking at where that information is coming from. Is it a news outlet? Is it just ending at Facebook? Does that Facebook post have a link? Talk to neighbors and listen. Be a trusted messenger. Make sure you're also verifying information that you're getting from the community. Share city communications in your networks. If it's coming from the city or an elected official's office or a government official's office, it can be trusted. Join community events to learn and build trust. So trusted news sources, here are some great examples. So internationally respected outlets are the BBC News, UK, oh, you can go to the next slide, Beatrice. Reuters, Global Wire Service, they're very factual based. Associated Press, they're a neutral style news outlet. So if you want something that doesn't have a Republican perspective or a Democratic perspective, but just something neutral, I recommend the Associated Press. And then there's the Avance French Presse. I probably said that terribly, but if you would like to also look at that global option. And then there are the U.S. nationally respected outlets, the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, especially on its news side, separate from the editorial opinion pages. So make sure to look carefully at where you're getting your information when choosing the Wall Street Journal. And then NPR, National Public Radio, and then the PBS NewsHour. And then great sources for fact checking. I recommend factcheck.org, PolitiCafact, Snoops, AP Fact Check, Reuters Fact Check, and then for academic and nonprofit journalism, ProPublica, the Marshall Project, and the Conservation Academics Explain Current Issues with up-to-date perspectives. And then, oh, Beatrice, go ahead and click. One more. Okay, and then immigration resources. So New Mexico Immigrant Law Center, and then here's the phone number included at the bottom. Catholic Charities of Albuquerque, and then UNM Community Lawyering Clinic. So these are all reputable resources that you can reach out to if you have immigration questions or you have family members that have sensitive questions. So that will be the end of my presentation. I hope that I helped make up for some of the time. I was definitely supposed to wrap up sooner, but are there any questions from the community at this time?
Markela, probably we can wait until the end to some questions that can come up after we have the following presentation. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I will be here. Thank you. I
Thank
hope
you
my
so much.
presentation was helpful.
Yes, thank you so much, Markela. Well, now we're gonna welcome Stephen Combs. He's the Office of Emergency Management Preparedness Training and Exercise Coordinator for the City of Albuquerque Office of Emergency Management. In this role, he leads the development and delivery of emergency preparedness trainings and exercises for city departments, partner agencies, and community members. Stephen works to strengthen Albuquerque's resiliency by aligning local programs with national emergency management best practice. Please welcome Stephen.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. So to get started, a little bit about the Office of Emergency Management, a real quick elevator speech is that what we do is we coordinate citywide preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation efforts throughout the city. And so we work with various departments, different organizations in the community, and a lot of partners, and we focus on building resilient neighborhoods. So our role is to coordinate the city's preparedness, response, and recovery efforts, but we can't do that alone, so we rely on the community as well. So one of the new programs that we're just rolling out is called Ready Together, and it's about building that household and community resilience. And it's about basically teaching the community different skills, different concepts, different things about emergency preparedness so that if something happens, they're ready. And it's not just like a shock of what do we do. It's all right, let's act, let's get it done. So the Ready Together program is a modular program, and it's from 1 to 4 hours long, and it's a variety of topics, from active threat awareness to evacuation to communication and response to situational awareness, hands-only CPR. So, for example, for active threat awareness and response, it would be practical guidance on recognizing warning signs and understanding response options. It's a non-tactical civilian awareness class. So the communication during emergencies class would be a no tech, low tech, high tech backup. How are you gonna prepare that family plan, phone trees? Who are you gonna call? When are you gonna call? And then situational awareness, just understanding baselines and any environmental cues. So we could use local tools such as alerts, weather apps, or any other emergency management resources. So these modules go through the different phases of readiness, being ready, then if something happens, how to respond, and then recovering. And then the other program we have, which is an 8 hours long training, is the Community Emergency Response Team. This one is a little more in-depth, and it's more intense. It's a hands-on practical skills, and it's a narrowed down FEMA course to go over basic core competencies, such as hands-only CPR, very, very basic first aid. We teach you how to use a fire extinguisher, situational awareness, basic planning. So that class is much more in depth and kind of going over things in greater detail, and making you a little more prepared, but it is an 8-hour long class and there is also a test. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask. The QR code there will take you to our website. You can contact our office, and our office is there to help you in any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate very much your presentation. By any chance, do you want me to go back to the first slide, or that's
No,
okay?
no, that's fine.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. If anyone has questions for Stephen, you know where to contact in the part information below. He's doing an amazing job with a lot of the trainings that he's working and putting together. For our next guest speaker, we have John Dodd. John Dodd works in the Albuquerque Community Safety Department, and he's the clinical supervisor for ACS and provides a training in de-escalation. John Dodd holds a master's degree in mental health counseling and has over 12 years experience as licensed counselor. So please welcome John Dodd.
Thanks, Beatrice, and thanks everybody. Hello. Let's just jump right in. So now I'm going to be discussing de-escalation and giving a really general overview, not quite a training per se, given the short amount of time, but definitely going to hit on some core principles and then some realistic ways to learn or to use the skills to de-escalate. So jumping right in, what is de-escalation? So de-escalation is going to refer to skills that prevent escalation of unwanted behavior. Other terms out there that you might be familiar with are crisis intervention, conflict resolution. This term is typically used in healthcare settings, crisis response, schools, law enforcement, hospitals, therapy offices. That's where the source of this information I'm going to go over is coming from. And before I go any further, I do want to emphasize that safety takes priority. Always prioritize your safety, safety first. When you're going into a situation where it seems like others might be escalated, just check in with yourself and ask, is anything dangerous happening? If you're unsure or you feel unsafe, get to safety and call 911. Next, I'm going to talk about the core principles or general guidelines here. The first is about personal space. Usually about 2 arms length is a standard out there that gives you enough space to feel comfortable, the other person enough space to feel comfortable, and also enough room to leave if the situation becomes actually unsafe or dangerous. Next, non-threatening body language. A non-provocative presence is what we're referring to here. So, a calm demeanor, calm facial expressions, keeping your hands visible, not clenched. These are important things. If someone is escalated or they are angry and you're trying to talk with them, one speaker at a time is recommended. It's harder for someone to concentrate whenever they're escalated, and the more voices involved at once, the more chaotic that can be. Sometimes you'll need to repeat yourself calmly and clearly, and that'll be as needed. Often you won't know exactly what the other person is wanting or needing, so it's okay to just ask, like, what are you needing right now? Listen actively. That refers to giving the person your full attention, showing them that you're listening and that you want to communicate, want to make some kind of connection. Next is set respectful limits. So these can be just reasonable requests on your part, done in a respectful manner. You can let the other person know, for example, that they are, what they're doing or how they're yelling at you is making you feel uncomfortable. It's okay to say things like that. That way they're aware of how they're coming across to you. Next, we have offer realistic choices and optimism. Just small acts of kindness or a gesture can help people feel a little bit more in control. For example, would you like to talk about it here standing up, or would you like to have a seat? Would you like a bottle of water? Something like that that seems very small can go a long way and stall people that are getting agitated. Next, I'm going to go into the practical skills portion. And this is more of a framework of active listening that I mentioned earlier. And we got a nice little convenient acronym here, spelling out the term more pies, but it's a way to help remember. So the first letter of that is M, minimal encouragers. Supportive sounds that you do whenever you're talking to someone and listening, like, uh-huh, oh, I see. Those things, again, help people feel like you're listening to them, like you're paying attention, you're tracking the conversation. Next, we have O for open-ended questions. Those are questions that begin with what and how. Try to seek more than just questions where you're going to get a yes or no answer from the person. That way, the person talks a little bit more and they give you extra information about what's going on. For the R, we have reflecting/mirroring. So being able to repeat maybe the last few words the person said back to them helps to let them know they were heard. And also with mirroring, whenever you're speaking to someone or you're listening to someone, humans are kind of wired to notice facial expressions, and they pay very close attention. We all do it kind of just naturally. So it's okay to sort of mirror the expression that the other person is showing you. For example, if they're feeling a little bit sad or they're showing that on their face, you can actually mirror a little bit of a facial expression of concern, right? But it's good to just be aware of it, because sometimes we can actually be making an angry expression when we don't feel angry. We're just trying to understand or focus, but we're not aware of it, and it comes across as maybe we're angry at somebody. So good to be aware of how your facial expression is maybe mirroring the other person. Next, for E, emotional labeling. This is a very powerful technique. Basically, it's okay to just name what you're sensing from the person. If they're coming across as upset or frustrated, you can say, gosh, you sound really upset, or that must be very frustrating. It helps, again, them know that you're getting it, that and if you get it wrong, actually, if you guess wrong and they say, no, I'm not frustrated at all, the bonus about this one is that they can correct you, and then they can talk more about why they do feel that actual way. Next up, we have paraphrasing. That's basically restating the words that they're telling you into your own words back to them as part of their statement. For I, we have I statements. It's okay to express your feelings during a conversation or an interaction where you're trying to de-escalate someone, because sometimes it'll help sort of build a connection there. And also, like, for example, like if someone is yelling at me, they're kind of coming across as angry, I could say, I feel really frustrated when you're yelling at me because it's hard for me to focus on what you want me to know. That way you're sharing a little bit, showing you're invested in the interaction, and you're trying to assist them as well, but you're letting them be aware of what effect they're having on you. And it's another way of like coming across as non-judgmental. You're keeping it to yourself. Like, I feel frustrated with your yelling. I'm trying to help you here, but I can't concentrate. Next, for E, we have effective pauses. These can give the person and yourself a chance to sort of think about what they just said, a chance to slow down, not rush, not speak over each other, especially if something very important was just shared. For the S, we have summarizing. Basically, it's a way to sort of track where we began in this interaction and where we are now, kind of with a future-facing strategy here. And again, it shows and it demonstrates that you have been paying attention. There are some limitations, of course, to these de-escalation guidelines. Sometimes the person that you're talking to, their level of understanding is going to be different, right? They might be very young, they might be elderly, they might have different levels of education, they might be having or experiencing different levels of stress. And you might not have a lot of time to go through all of these steps or try everything, because maybe you're, Maybe you're a bit rushed yourself. Maybe you do have to leave, or maybe they don't have enough time and they're trying to get on with their day as well. And at the end of the day, once in a while, there aren't any like quick fixes or fast solutions. Things just might take longer than you expect. So remember, with de-escalation, it does take some practice to develop the skill, and that your safety does always come first, and you have to make that a priority. If you're unsure, it's okay to call 911 after you get to safety. Um, to hear more or be involved more with some de-escalation conversations, ACS, the Albuquerque Community Safety Department, offers quarterly de-escalation conversations. And if you want to reach out to them to attend any of those, the next one is March 5th. You can email acs@cabq.gov. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate that you came and spoke on behalf of ACS. And now we're gonna introduce Terry Sloan. He's Navajo and Hopi Native American from Tuba City, Arizona. He has engaged in environmental justice, climate change, and indigenous people rights and human rights for over 25 years. And he also serves as the intergovernmental tribal liaison for the city of Albuquerque, working with the 23 tribes of New Mexico. Not only that, he's an accredited member of the United Nations. Please welcome Terry.
Yeah, Beatrice, and thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. It's an honor to be here. And first, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and others that have been lost. Thank you. I speak to you. Oh, one thing. I'd like to thank every presenter before me. They did a wonderful, incredible job. Some great information I was hearing and seeing tonight. Before I start, I also like to that I know that I speak to you today from the traditional unceded homelands of the Southern Tiwa Pueblo people, who are the original caretakers and nurturers of the sacred and precious land since time immemorial. Being safe is a human right. To be human is to have intellect, to have passion, to have love, desire, reason, conscience, intelligence, happiness, need, fear, care, and compassion. And with that, understand our existence and being the best we humanly can. Many have debated to be human, but one thing not often discussed is being safe. Is being safe essential to our human well-being? I say yes. Therefore, being safe is a human right, and we all have a right to feel safe and being safe. I'll quickly note that the presentation running in the background is the presentation from last year's Know Your Rights during ICE Encounters event that we held, and it's just a wonderful presentation. As you can probably guess now, my underlying theme is human rights. To further bring this point home, I would like to cite some articles from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which I believe is important to understand and hear, because at many times we don't really look back and try to see and understand what our human rights are. Article 1, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Article 3, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. Article 5, no one shall be subjected to torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Article 6, everyone has a right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. Article 7, all are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination in violation of this declaration and against any incitement to such discrimination. Article 9, no one shall be subject to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. And also I'd like to cite, one article for the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Article 22, paragraph 2. States or countries shall take measures in conjunction with indigenous peoples to ensure that indigenous women and children enjoy the full protection and guarantees against all forms of violence and discrimination. That I want to touch base quickly about our upcoming Know Your Rights during the ICE Encounters event that we are having on February 25th, 2026 at the Gateway Center Auditorium from 1 to 4 p.m. We have been working with the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission, the New Mexico American Civil Liberties Union, the New Mexico Immigrant Law Center, and also the 19 Pueblos District. And we invite you and the community to attend this event. It is open to the public. We will be streaming it live on Zoom, as you can see in this information here. And we also will be recording it for later playback for those that cannot attend or view at that 1 to 4 time frame. Again, we are having this event in light of what we are seeing in Minneapolis and elsewhere in the United States. Knowing your rights is now more important than ever. At the core of my recommendation is also to know your human rights. I would inquire you to look at the Universal Declaration, and if you're Indigenous, look at the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. These will be core protections that you and I have, and we should also want to exhibit and see offered towards us as individuals and human beings. Again, we will see these human rights violations that we're seeing in Minneapolis probably come forward as the dust settles. And so again, I advise and would like or recommend that everybody please stand up for your human rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Derek, for your presentation and for inviting the community to this amazing event. Appreciate it. Now we also want to share that we have some resources, red cards in our office for the people who will be interested in getting some of these red cards in 10 different languages. Or we also can go to our website, and there is the possibility that you can find it on for the link to read the red cards in 47 languages. There are more resources that could be shared in all those links. Later on, that information will be shared. And meanwhile, if you have any questions, please feel free to do it now. I'm gonna try to reduce the part of the presentation to be able to see the chat. And let me see how I can see it.
We have a question. One of them has already been answered. How is the city planning on keeping ICE out of our city? Will APD be planning to arrest these kidnappers? They are well outside the realm of law, especially towards citizens.
Well, law enforcement cannot, local law enforcement cannot intervene with federal agencies. The only way that law enforcement will intervene is in a situation when there is a crime, where the community has been called because a crime has been committed. But for example, if there is an ICE raid in a situation, if they are not committing a crime, will not be an interference between the different law enforcements. That's what I can mention. Now, there are some protections in the new executive order connected with due process and transparency that is important to have because due process is important in any moment in time, and that's what I can answer. But we necessarily between both two law enforcements, there shouldn't be any interaction. And for a better response, Albuquerque Police Department could provide something more appropriate, so we can respond that question in an email. If you are or you want to leave that question, we can follow up later on. Thank you so much. There are further questions? for any of our panels?
I don't see any questions at this moment. So last call for questions, attendees. You've got all the experts in the room. Please use this last few minutes we have.
Well, like you see, there is going to be information about the websites or emails of the individuals who had presented. That is very important because in that way, you're going to see that if you want your community, your organization, your neighborhood to be able to connect with them, to organize a training, that is something that you're going to be able to do. This is a unique opportunity. We are one of the few places in the local government when you're going to find this amount of information provided to you and that you can take opportunity, learn, share with your neighbors, with your friends, and please do so. We also want to invite you to the next webinar. The next webinar is going to be in March 4th, also at 6 p.m., where we're going to be speaking or talking actually about the statewide impact, how new 2026 legislation affects our communities. That is going to be a very interesting webinar as well. Do you want to know what all this immigration legislation that happened, that has been going through the legislature, what happened with them and how that is going to impact your community in a very positive way? Well, stay tuned and come in March 4th. And also in March 18, we have safer community places because there are recent policies in the city and in the county, and we want to have a special guest. So just don't miss and come and attend with us. And we're always going to have interpretation in Spanish available. And just this is a call to action because we cannot live today without not doing something that it has some type of impact in the sense of you learn all this type of information. What do you gonna do next? What do you would like to do next? Well, there are different possibilities. You can volunteer. You can go to one Albuquerque volunteers and help. Many city departments will love to have your help and support. There are gaps for food and distribution and support for eviction prevention. There is some information here that comes directly from the Department of Housing, Health, and Homelessness. And we also had the migrant relief funding. That's something that you would like to do. But if we go back to the part of the questions, you have your last chance. It's 7 p.m. You want further questions with any of us, you can reach out to us to cabq/OIRA, or you can call me on the phone 505-768-3040. We will be happy to assist you. And please say thank you to everyone behind the scenes. And to say goodbye to all of you, can everyone put your cameras on? Let me see. Yes, you see, we have our amazing interpreters. We have Markela, John, Terry, Steven. Oh my goodness, come on, a big smile for everybody. So they know that next time they can come back and they're gonna see that you guys did an amazing presentation today and you are inviting them to be part of the civic community and civic together triumph. Thank you so much. Until next time.